Sure.
Beyond that, not really sure.
I was gonna say,
What's that probably? Yeah, late that, she did go in and check, but really, she was scared. I don't know.
Raiders.
Worked up from it. Pretty horrible team.
How about those Raiders?
I felt sorry for her.
We are recording.
Oh, yeah. You know,
It's just a football game.
It's pretty offensive to be the Raiders.
It is. Oh, they beat the Packers.
Do we want to see it right away? This better off with the spray. Dry. And beans in there.
It's 6 o'clock, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Please be aware that this meeting is being recorded using OWL technology and will be on the city's YouTube channel when completed. Next, we'll do a roll call and please state your name. Mary Ellen, start.
Mary Ann Wainwright here.
Nick Wolf here.
Kate Patient here.
I'm gonna shut. We're getting an echo there.
Yep, I'm gonna shut.
Mike here. Tom Murray here.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of the consent agenda. Has everyone had a chance to look at what's included? If so, entertain motion to.
Second.
Motion.
No second.
Harry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next up, we have reports, and I saw the deputy walk in.
Yeah.
Good evening.
WP's Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. So I guess report 9/12 through 10/10. Hours were met, looks like a total of 96 calls for service. And they jumped out, any questions I can help answer or concerns?
Yeah, Cynthia, can you enlarge that for me, that first sheet there? Make that a little bit bigger.
So we're showing your report up here on the screen.
Do you know, like, there's all these extra patrol listings. Do you know what that was for?
Typically, if somebody calls in about a specific area, say speeders on whatever street, if the deputy's gonna concentrate their time, if they got some free time, they can call in or they just create an extra patrol.
I just hadn't seen that before, and there's a ton of them on there. I was wondering if it was
I
80th
myself
Street.
don't usually do it, I'll just spend time there without creating a call for it, but it's,
Yeah.
I guess it's
I
kind of
just-
nice when somebody does that, because it shows that we were there, you know?
Yeah.
If somebody's like, oh, you weren't, so, yes, we were. So, typically that would be an area of concern, whether somebody emails in a concern or, citizen calls or whatever, added focus, I guess, on, it could be, speeders, stop sign violations, just do whatever, so.
Okay.
That's probably what that is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the deputy?
Oh.
No, thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, yep.
Next up, we have the library report. Kathy.
Kathy Bain, Fairfax Public Library. We didn't have our board meeting until last night, so your minutes, so you'll see our minutes next month. Spent most of the time just preparing for our brainstorming that we'll be doing this Friday and next Thursday, so. I was gone a couple of weeks, so don't have a lot. Anybody have any questions?
Do you have to RSVP in order to attend the brainstorming, or how does that work,
No.
Kathy? Please come.
Please.
Please come. We want to know what people want, not what.
And what time is it on Friday?
1 to 2.
1 to 2 on Friday? Okay. Thank you.
Next
Fire
Thursday.
department, looks like Lynn.
Yeah, Lynn Miller, Fairfax Fire Department. Not sure where Spanky is, probably golfing. More days. But yeah, for the most part, I think we're around 240 calls, 240 plus calls for the year. Had a few mutual aid grass fires here in the last few weeks, but awful dry. But otherwise, one accident, I think is a bigger amount, but otherwise, the business is always did do a training here last night at Kirkwood. Joint training action, so it turned out pretty well. So, nothing else really.
Any questions for Lynn? Thanks, Lynn. Move on to the building department. Chris?
Principal, building department, we just had 2 single family residents, permitted this month, last month, sorry. P and Z still working away on the, number of primary structures per lot. Kind of some conclusions on residential, they're still working on industrial and commercial, gonna present that all as one ordinance if they do anything with the industrial and commercial, so we're not writing that zoning section twice.
Chris, can you explain that to me a little bit? I just kind of glazed over those minutes. Were they, as far as the industrial and commercial, or there was something about like limiting size or,
No, they talk about limiting the
Plots,
number of
numbers.
primary structures in industrial on one site. There's been talk, look to 7, 3 to 7, you know, those numbers have been flying around. They haven't come to any definite,
is that the same thing for commercial? Like if you would.
no,
buy-
residential, they made decision 1, no shared
Which is fine.
driveways.
But are they talking about commercial then too?
Yeah.
So like if you buy 8 acres, they would limit you to, you could only subdivide it twice or
No, it has
something?
nothing to do with subdividing.
Or you
Just-
could only put up so many structures?
Right.
Before you
On a
subdivide.
lot. On one lot.
Okay.
So that's where the conversation is.
Does that run parallel with, over here with, Global and, EDT? Or
Those are separate lots.
those are separate,
I
but
think
they
you're
are now,
talking-
weren't they subdivided though?
I
And that's where-
don't know, Shane, maybe able to answer that.
Are you talking more about
With
what's
the
going on
building.
over there?
Bushman's,
Bushman's property
actually Alliance
would be-
starting that process now, we're up to 3, 2 structures. Possibly on one lot out there, that's coming, you haven't seen it yet, but you've had the city's staff has had some meetings with Trevero in regards to that. Joanne, you're aware of that, Shane, you're aware of that. Obviously, I don't know, P and Z hasn't come up with any definite numbers, they may abandon the whole thing, it's hard to say. Residential will be coming to you, that's been decided. But instead of trying to write this ordinance
Okay.
twice for the same section, they need to make up their mind on the other stuff before you get it.
I was just wondering if we had input about that before they got too far down one path.
Yeah.
If there was a definite,
Yeah, you're more than welcome to be at any of the P and Z meetings. It'll be on the agenda again next week, so. Any more questions about that? 320 Burger Lane, I did check in with, Erin today, she's the one in charge of that. That house went into foreclosure, which has really tripped them up. As far as getting their demolition going. She sent me an email back, so I'm not telling you the wrong thing. It is in this, some court, let's see. 20-day period before they'll approve it. Financial management plan with the courts, yeah, they had a court date on 9/26, September 26th, and they have 20-day period before they'll approve it, so. Once that's done, then they'll go in for the demolition permit for the building.
This is Janice's place over there in Burgerly.
The one that
right,
burned, yeah. So I've been kind of back and forth with her, it seemed like it stalled on, I hadn't heard nothing in a while, so I shot her an email this morning, because I figured you guys would want to know what's going on with that.
questions for me? The software for the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what's up with that?
That's been kind of a disaster. We'll see in the end. We haven't seen any of the final, maps, I guess is what they're gonna create in the end. We haven't seen any of that. A lot of the sections I've scanned 3 and 4 times. Keeps coming up as rescan. Like a week and a half ago, they had me remove the app from the phone and reinstall it. That seems to have helped, but I actually got an email from them this afternoon, which I need to discuss with the mayor and Cynthia, because we were preparing an email for them that was kind of a nastygram, and I'm glad they sent this, because that may give us better perspective on how to respond to them. Still kind of up in the air. I've scanned over, according to them, 11 miles of sidewalk.
That's a lot of walking.
Yeah, because most of it was 3 and 4 times over.
In 90-degree weather.
Yeah, some of it, but,
Good way.
hopefully we captured some good, valuable information. Then I won't feel so bad, but, if we didn't, I think we're gonna make some.
Well, it'll be properly addressed.
Yes.
Have we paid the bill?
No. we haven't.
No, and we will not be
Okay.
paying the bill.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at with them. We need to see something to say. that Their software is not doing what they promised. As far as the scanning, in my opinion. We'll see though. They still haven't seen any of the final product to know if it's doing. Heartland Heights is the only thing that seemed to scan really good. Well, them are brand new sidewalks. So, anyhow, any other questions for me?
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, guys.
Maintenance department, plan.
Water maintenance department, so, been awful busy in ground maintenance area, been helping Joe with the frisbee disc golf course, kind of revamp that. I don't know if Joe will mention more, it's close to being done, the course is up, but they need some signage and some other stuff, but, Heartland Heights Park has been reseeded, they came in and kind of rehydro seeded, and of course, we haven't had any rain since, we've been trying to water here and there, but it's not looking great for that reseed, but we'll see. We did apply for a grant up there for trees, got denied, but either way, we ordered some trees for this fall, probably in the next, 3 weeks or so, we'll see if we can't get those planted, if we can wait till they go dormant. Schrader's been working up at the pond, trying to get some of that stuff done, like they talked about last meeting. The banners that we have around town, we'll probably be taking them down maybe this week, next week, and then we'll have to get them back to City Hall so they can get to the proper owners, so we will see some changes there. Otherwise, we're starting to get ready for winter, looking at winterizing stuff, so sand and salt's all been ordered, and it's all here, already mixed up, so we're out of the game there. And the other thing we're kind of looking at in the winter spectrum is for going to a little bit of a brine, kind of experiment with that. So we may look for, or build a small little brine mixer, just to get started with it and see. The stormwater side of the state is really pushing to kind of work that way to lighten up the usage of the salt out there. So, and that's kind of how they're going that way. So you may see some things this winter if we get it, time allows and we get it built or purchased and see how that goes. So we'll experiment a little bit more with it. Anything for me?
Was there any reason or given on the denial of the grant or just?
That so many applicants, it's just huge. Well, the other thing is, I guess I didn't mention is that pickup, we sold it, but then we put it out here after a Monday morning meeting, and an hour later, a guy called and said he wanted to check it out, and then he made an offer, and then, 10 minutes later, he came back and gave us full price. And he was pretty darn happy. He was afraid somebody would overbid him and he'd lose it, so he gave us a full price and then he asked, and it's gone.
15, right?
15, yep. So that was a good deal. Didn't have to worry about the phone call and headaches, and he was pretty happy. But
Then I've got a question on the veterans banners. When we advertised them, we indicated they would stay up until Veterans Day, which is November 10. Is there a reason why
I
they
don't
would come
remember.
down early?
Cynthia, do you know that?
Well, she looked it up and it was in one of the original articles. I would just say, you know,
It doesn't matter, but
I would say it's your call, because I mean, we can always say, you know, due to weather or, you know, one already came down because it had a small rip in it.
it ripped and, yeah, rackets were having problems, but we have another one we got addressed, but it's not a veterans one here. But
Can you take all the ones down except for the veterans ones, like the ones that are actually,
the other ones,
do you have a lot of those or not
But
so much?
we can't leave them up until they get destroyed for the most part. But it doesn't matter to me, it's up to you guys, I guess. It's just, the later you wait, the colder it is and harder on the guys. But-
Yeah, probably not as hard as fighting in the war, but that's fine.
That's a good one, Mike.
Probably not.
Does the council have any opinion other than Mike's?
Well, no, I agree with Mike. It would seem fitting if that's what we told them and they bought one that we should leave them up till then. I'm sorry, but that we should leave them.
Yeah, it's a month away, it's just, yeah, a little, yeah.
Yep, no big deal.
When do you decorate? About the same time?
What's
So you
that?
take those out and put the Christmas, or take those down, and put the Christmas ones up, is that?
Depends, usually the Christmas stuff is usually right around Thanksgiving, so about the week before, sometimes, just depending on the weather.
Pretty close.
So you could maybe take those down and just put the other ones right up, so you're not making two.
Oh, it'll be multiple trips anyway. There's a lot more than the Christmas stuff this year. On the Christmas stuff, a lot of the electrical, the poles have been redone, you know, we've been talking, I think I mentioned that. The Alliance doesn't want us to add any more to them. They're grandfathering us in the poles that already had decorations on, so I had the electricians kind of revamp the electrical. Some of that was destroyed through derecho and still been this long to get it fixed and get them located. So we've done, oh boy, maybe six, probably a dozen of them that we've revamped. We've got them up the road, up the farm, so. So we gotta, can move the brackets and kind of mess with that next too, so it's gonna take a while.
Anything else for that? Thanks, Lynn. Water and wastewater, Kevin?
Yep. Kevin, Stanton, water, wastewater. First thing up, you can see we had a DNR wastewater inspection done about a month ago. And in that process, it was a good opportunity to let Brandon and Brian go with the agent and the inspector and go through and try to answer as many questions as possible. They did very well. A few things I interjected to make sure the information was correct. All in all, you can see there were some, it's a notice of non-compliant. And on the plant design, if the plant exceeds what the plant was designed by engineering to take in for ammonia, biosolids, suspended solids, you have to call the DNR in 24 hours and let them know. So that is conditions, condition 13 on there, and which is one of their standard things. It's on the last page on the NPDS permit, and most people forget it. They don't even see it, but it's one that they like to ding you on if you're not aware of it. But most of them are back in 2000. And, so they were before Brandon's time. There's nothing we can do about what comes into the plant comes into the plant. Some of that happens right after a rain event, where all of a sudden all the solids get washed down to the plant gets overloaded for a short time. But if you read in there further, we met our 85% reduction, which is a requirement. So that was a good thing. We actually are at 100% reduction. We have 0 VOD leaving the plant and 0 ammonia and 0 solids. So whatever that number is, we're at 100% reduction. The last part of that on the last page, they have some recommendations and they have some requirements. Well, the requirements, if you look, kind of one of their boilerplate things, they only had 4 things to mention. One was properly calibrate some of our weirs, which I have everything there for the guys to do that, and I'll show them how to do that. We just didn't have it recorded. So they dinged us on that. The other thing they talked about is having the old lagoon system, the outfall to the creek, had weeds around it. Hasn't been used in 20 years. So he wanted to make sure that was clean so they could see it. I said, it's not being used, don't matter. So that's just a little housekeeping thing. They talked about recommendations of, having part of our sewer system, televised and set up for, I&I, the infiltration. Well, we currently have all the videos done. We have everything to engineering. We know what needs to be done. It's just a matter of when you want to spend the money. So we explained that to him. So all in all, when you look at that report, the requirements, there is nothing in there that said the plant was not functioning properly. They can't say anything good. That's just not in their nature to do that. They can't do that. So they gotta find something to say that needs improvement, which is fine. All in all, that's probably one of the best wastewater reports I've ever seen for minimal requirements. Sometimes the requirements and the recommendations are a full page long and a lot worse. So that's on that. If you got any questions, I can go into detail with you individually. I already have with a few of you, so.
What do they mean by inspect and repair 20% of the sanitary sewer? I mean, is that just over time?
Every community out there has cracks in their wastewater collection system, which the rainwater gets in and it overruns wastewater plants. Well, ours is pretty good, but they still want, it's something, nobody's got a perfect system. So that's one of their little things that they always add in almost every single report. Everybody gets it.
But some of that goes to camera net like we have in the past.
Right.
You know, doing some of that.
And we got we got the entire older section of town completed, done, and it's in engineering. And they've reviewed the videos, they've made recommendations on what areas need to be fixed. It's just a matter of sometime when you want to spend the money, you know, that information is ready to go. So that's on that. Like I said, I'd be happy to answer questions individually if you'd like on that report, but it is actually a very good report. So on another note, the service truck is in. And it's been to Banacom and it's been labeled and decked out. So it's been being in service. And it's been in service on working on one of the clarifiers at the wastewater plant. And Brian's got a piece of hardware there that showing you that the clarifier is pretty well used. The bearing fell apart when they took it out. So they got everything pretty much back together. They just got some minor work to do in the curtains and stuff. And by the end of the week, it'll be back in service and operating. So
Just about ate it all the way through.
Is that exhibit A?
Yeah, it's just about ate it out all the way through. So we're lucky we fixed it when we fixed it. Yeah.
So Brian's headed that up and he's had Dallas helping him on that. So the new truck actually picked up the whole center part of the clarifier and suspended it, taking things off. So it did what it needed to do.
We were commenting about that today too. We trying to guess what they charged us to fix that, and we were kind of guessing maybe around $20,000. So, and we've got it just in a few days' time.
Yeah, a couple $1,000 in parts and 3 days worth of work.
Yeah.
I'll have the majority of it done.
So having the talent in-house to do this is a huge benefit.
And that truck has been huge, part of it.
Yeah.
Big service truck.
So, last week, Brian had located a couple hydrants that needed, repair work. So I told him, I said, I gave him the contact name of the representative that goes around from Plow Hydrants. I says, he comes out and helps you repair them, just give him a call, that's what he does. And so Andy showed up, and we had one hydrant that he took apart out at Trevero that they had, one of their firefighters, very strong firefighter, tightened hydrant so down, so tight, he actually mushroomed the glass coupling inside of it, and it wouldn't shut off. Literally mushroomed the brass. So Andy fixed that one, and it was good because the entire crew was there, so that everybody got to see how they're taken apart. Then we went up to Hillview and Highland. And they had another hydrant that was acting funny. So in the process, we actually took that one completely out of everything disassembled and completely out of the hydrant. And they brought the back in to clean out any debris in the bottom. And lo and behold, what do we find in the bottom of that hydrant? That was sitting underneath the hydrant. That is a plug from a 6-inch water line that somebody installed back in probably 2000 to cap it so it didn't leak. And when they turned on the hydrant, it blew into the hydrant, and that's where it's sat for the last 20 years, 23 years probably. And we found it.
And you don't know until you take it that far apart.
When we did the hydrant off, when they were
We
plugged
never
in.
knew.
Yeah, we couldn't turn it off, that was the reason why we had a problem.
So, and all them repairs and all them parts were no charge to us, because that's what Plow does when they come out to help us. So, very good training, good for us, good cost benefit to the city. Last week they had a hiccup. I'm gonna talk a little bit about the pressure of the water system. We've been on pressure mode now for about a month. We've had a couple low pressure, concerns, people that we dealt with. Both them have been either shower head plugged up or their water softener failing. Now, one of them has had to do with our water system, the booster station. So that's been working very well. We did have one where we must have had a brownout because our transfer switch for the generator at the booster station was not smart enough to figure out what, it dropped one leg of the 3 legs. So the transfer switch didn't switch. It just stayed in and it faulted all our drives. Lo and behold, the crew was on site when it actually happened. So they were able to restart everything, otherwise we were gonna lose pressure in about 60 seconds. So
You lost a phase on the generator or?
we're guessing that's, no, we lost a line, dropped the leg, and we're thinking what they did is they pulled the fuse and changed the fuse because it was about 30 seconds.
Do you have any phase loss detectors or anything down there? No?
We gotta look at we're gonna have the transfer switch looked at to make sure it does that. We're also gonna have the integrator come back, and when that happens, we're gonna reprogram all the drives to actually do a restart, numerous restarts. I don't think they're programmed right now to restart.
You should be able to, transfer switch should be able to have the,
You
should be able to, if it's an option, put phase loss in it where you get on generation.
Right. So we're gonna look into that. But that was, taken care of. The water tower, everybody can see, it looks like the crown of thorns or whatever you wanna say. But they did start on Sunday. They showed up, with a lot of phone calls, a lot of people being more assertive to the crew, and they did show up. The interior is sandblasted and starting to be primed tomorrow. So they're all done with the inside. So they're moving along. So the curtains should be going up probably tomorrow or on Thursday. And they'll start outside.
Will they make the deadline of, what, a couple more weeks?
We'll see. It's coming up really quick. 10 days. But the inspector seems to think they'll make it. So we'll see. Let's see. I think that pretty much covered it. Oh, Brian had on his little list of my work schedule. Well, my work schedule is the same as everything, and I'll keep, instructing everybody and teaching everybody everything I know before I go. So that's it. Sorry it took so much time.
Any questions for Kevin? Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks.
Parks and Rec Department, Joe.
I think I'll stay right here. Joe Kell, Parks and Rec Director. You have, my report in your packet. The only update I have is that the Polar Splash did, bring in $1,638 of donations for charities, local charities this weekend. So it was a success. Any questions? Okay.
Okay. So moving on to Mayor's report, you have my report in your packet. I just have one comment about an item that is on the report, and that is under additional meetings, the September 29th Conversion Region Update Meeting with Bill Overfall. We went over several things, but the primary point was they have been approached by an unnamed company that is in the wind turbine blade grinding business that wants to partner with them, possibly, to be the step before the regen process occurs. And they wouldn't bring in whole blades, they bring in partially disassembled blades, but larger sections, and then do the grinding in the building that would be located to the east of the regen facility. Lots of questions and further discussions to occur, but wanted to give everybody a heads up on that.
Did you get a response from the Cedar Rapids mayor?
Glad you brought that up. No, I have not. I'm attending a non-related luncheon with her tomorrow, however, so maybe an opportunity will present itself to have a face-to-face discussion.
Blindsider.
Do you know, Joanne, on the possible person that they're having to get that recycling? Those were all the things that we had talked about that weren't part of the one that's there now.
Right,
So, and that gets to be a noise and a dust and all that kind of thing.
right.
Did he have any information about that? Because a noise, that's close enough, that could be an issue. I just don't.
I don't think we talked specifically about noise. We did talk about the air quality because there will be little pieces of fiberglass. The DNR will be involved, but it may present another opportunity for us to maybe look at some ordinances in that area, since we don't have any ordinances currently for noise, light, or air pollution.
Oh, and he said the EPA certainly would be involved, you know, in permitting. And we talked a little bit about that the proposed use fit in our current zoning.
Cause you got dust collectors on, you have to get permitting with the DRR anyway. The overall air quality and everything.
So then the noise would be different.
Yeah,
Everything indoors, including storage.
so kind of a high level discussion, but he did bring up some things that we want to keep a close eye on. So to be continued. All right, engineering, Shane.
Shane Wicks Engineering, my report's in the packet. I don't have anything to add to it this time, but are there any questions for me?
Thanks, Shane. Moving on to item number 6. We do have 2 insurance agents here with us this evening, our current agent, Charlie Garwood, and also Dustin Toner will be presenting some information, but I'm gonna have Cynthia just provide a little bit of background as to why this is happening.
So if you remember, last year, our commercial insurance all renews April 1. And you discussed with Charlie Garwood, who's our current agent with Wilson Height Insurance from Vinton, that felt that in 24, we should get multiple quotes, and he can quote multiple companies. And so we were already set to do that. And then Dustin Toner with the Accel Group reached out and made a sales call and then requested just look at our policies over and is very interested to be able to put a quote the city, but realize that like EMC Insurance, which is one of the major companies that we should get a quote from. Only one of our agent, only one agent could give us a quote for that, and Charlie, our current agent, handles them now. Our current insurance, and I'll let Charlie talk about this maybe a little bit more. Our current insurance, Continental Western, is not renewing their municipal client commercial lines. So Charlie, do you wanna take it from there and give them some more info?
Charlie Garwood, Wilson Height Insurance. Yeah, back in March when I brought the renewal in, I explained that Continental Western is removing themselves from city insurance. And the company that we write through is Iowa Municipal, and they have secured a contract with Provident. So we're gonna get automatically a quote with Provident. So I talked with Cynthia a little bit, and I said, I will get another quote from EMC. With Continental Western, they address some specific needs that the city of Fairfax has with the fire department detonating fireworks. They were the only ones that were able to allow that without having to go out to the secondary market. So going forward, I contacted EMC. They will not allow, like Cynthia said, 2 agents to quote one city one. So in doing that, I contacted Cynthia, and she said that they'd be willing to sign an AOR, which gives me the right to quote with EMC. I will look both of those quotes over and then present the one that I feel is the best for the city of Fairfax.
So Charlie, Continental's just getting out because of like, paying too much for disasters like everybody else is in other states?
I really don't know their decision making me up, but they did cities, fire departments, everything. They're no longer gonna be right.
Okay. Cause I know I've heard of like whole companies just pulling out of states because of paying way too much in claims.
And then like Provident, City of Fairfax already has a policy with Provident, the fire department's accidental death and dismemberment policy is great.
So does anybody have any further questions for Charlie at this point in time?
So our policy ends, or has to renew April 1st, so we've got ample time to.
Some of the other companies will not allow us to get a quote. It has to be 120 days out. Is as soon as you get a quote from them. I should say, sorry.
That's January then, budget time.
Anything else for him? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Charlie. All right, Dustin, you have the floor.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your time. As Charlie mentioned, there's only one agent really that would be in the best interest for the city. Taking the markets and allocating them is definitely not the best approach. In a rather quick review of the program, there were certainly some things that the procurement of the insurance, I think, has gone well and would continue to go well, but from a risk management standpoint, I think there's some low-hanging fruit that could be discussed and improved upon, specifically within the work comp program. Insurance scores it similar to a credit rating, which is something we all might be more familiar with. And one would be the standard or average across the state municipalities, and the city is paying 1.52. So that acts as a multiplier. So more than 1/3 of the premium spent annually on the work comp program is a penalty due to poor loss history. Our company represents more than, I don't know the exact number, it's a double-digit municipalities across the state. We have OSHA certified trainers, risk control, claims advocacy team, specials in property losses, work comp losses, auto losses. And I think that as the premium has grown for the city of Fairfax over the past few years, there is an opportunity to maybe get it under a microscope and look at it in a little bit more detail, as I think the premium spend is already approaching $150,000, and it very well could surpass $150,000 in premium next year. So in the best interest of the citizens of Fairfax, I think looking at the due diligence, and not just the procurement of the insurance, but the year-round risk profile and improving that for the city to bring down the premium would certainly be something to consider. Any questions?
Dustin, what is your background and where are you located?
Located in Cedar Rapids on the southeast side. My background, I've been in insurance for the past few years since 2020. Prior to that, I was a golf professional, brought to Iowa in 2015. And yeah, I think that covers all of them.
It's always good to see options, see what's all out there, just the best bang for the buck, for sure, especially something in the neighborhood of $150,000, same premiums.
Dustin, do you have other companies other than EMC or Provident that you would quote?
So I know that the statistics for the last year, 60% of municipalities were with EMC, 30% were with ICAP, and 10% were with Continental Western. So there are other markets now that will be stepping in now that Continental Western is pulling out. Their MGA was technically the broker of record for Continental Western, and when they could not continue forward with the MGA, they decided that it would be in their best interest to cancel the municipality program. So as far as other options, I do think ICAP would be, it's a different mousetrap than what EMC is. Certainly something to explore, but there's limited options, certainly.
If I'm understanding this correctly, if we had you and also Charlie provide us quotes, only one of you could quote EMC.
That's correct, yes.
Charlie, do you want to talk a little bit about ICAP? Give us a little insight of the differences. I know I've spoken with Spanky about ICAP, and did he speak to you today about ICAP?
Cynthia had asked me about that. I am not an expert. I cannot speak on their workings of ICAP, but I do know that they are basically self-funded. They are not actually an insurance company. They're not regulated. So they can make different options, give the city different options that is not available to regular insurance companies. But I do know there's some hindrance in them that in the event if you do go with ICAP, I know to quote and get away from in the future, if you would decide to, I know that can get a little sticky. But for the most part, I can't speak on ICAP. Maybe he can, but.
I know, since I've been here, we've gotten a quote from ICAP. I don't remember what company quoted it, but I know at that time, the fire department was very opposed to the requirements for the fire department members to keep serving. And I don't know if those are still part of their requirement. That would be part of their risk control. Dustin, do you have any more input on ICAP?
No, I believe the hindrance or the obstacle for the fire department had a lot to do with physicals annually and background checks. To your point, Cynthia, a lot to do with, the risk control and risk management. When you enter into a pool such as ICAP, you want to be best in class. You want to minimize your losses because you are sharing that with other municipalities. Typically, when you do that, about 30% of your premium goes to administrative costs. So the thought process or idea in that is to shrink some of your administrative costs within the program to reduce your fixed costs. Losses become losses, as we know. Again, it's a very different mousetrap than a fixed cost program. But as the property rates, as wind hail deductibles continue to increase in the area, getting creative and looking at alternative programs is becoming the reality of the property market.
Preston, one of the concerns that was expressed to me was, at least back in time, that ICAP required all items be scheduled rather than having blanket coverage. Are you familiar with that at all? Down to the smallest level? Are you familiar?
I'm familiar with blanket and scheduled coverage. Speaking specific to the ICAP program and the underwriter, I wouldn't be able to answer that without underwriter confirmation.
So that if we had you quote that, we need more information on that, so.
For sure. Yeah, and again, I still think that it would be in the best interest of the city to pick one agent to explore all options and go forward there rather than allocate markets, because you lose leverage in your pricing. So.
I have a question. Does our mod include like the fire department, like everything? Like everyone total?
Everyone's on our work comp.
So
Yes, it does include the fire.
I'm just trying to figure out what's driving that to be high.
We've had some claims, both with the city and
The fire department, okay. We just don't hear that stuff, so, right. But that is high.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you. Council, we have opportunity for a possible motion, if you are interested.
So,
The options, go ahead.
yes, kind of a summary. So, Dustin is asking to be able to quote the insurance, and he wants to be able to quote EMC and maybe ICAP, and, he wants just one agent doing it. Charlie, has already, spoke to you last spring about, at least EMC, and now Provident is instead of the Continental Western. And so it's really kind of, do you want to switch agent? Or do you want to stick, if you follow Dustin's recommendation, to stick with just one agent? Do you want Charlie to continue to quote, but just get multiple company quotes, or do you want to switch agents? And I'll just say, from a standpoint of staff, we have not experienced any problems with the service at Wilson Height,
So I think, I'm gonna go out here, but I would assume that we all want to get like apples to apples quotes, but that sounds like that is not able to happen because of the limited amount of companies that can quote us. But as much as I would like to get a separate, I don't want to not let Charlie as our agent of standing, who hasn't done anything wrong. We don't know Dustin well enough to say, let's give him a shot for no apparent reason. It's not like we're gonna give him our business because it's quoted cheaper. That's not the situation. I don't feel it's fair to give our business to someone else when Charlie's done a good job. I guess I don't like the situation where we can't have you both give us quotes.
Right.
And we have to pick because you're at a disadvantage because we don't know you and we do know Charlie, so.
That's just in past history too, just on our side of it. The communication's been, I'd say, phenomenal with Charlie with Charlie the whole time, so.
Charlie-
If we have a question, be on the phone and right with us and talk through, it, so it's been great.
Charlie, how long have you been in insurance?
23 years. I've been with the city for over 20. City of Fairfax, we've represented them.
And even the other background there is the fire department. We've been connected with that for many, many years. Chief up with them.
Can I make one, can I address one more?
Sure.
When you were making the comment about getting close apples to apples, seems I will have the expiring policy and the renewal problem. I can quote it with EMC, and if we find another carrier, to have them exactly or as close to for all coverages.
See, just on the fire department side, that's been kind of nice, because he knows what the volunteer side goes through. So that's been a nice connection also.
I look at it as if he's been providing our service for 2 decades and we haven't had any issues since then, and there's a good working relationship with city staff, and he's familiar with, you know, the fire department and some of their stuff, that's not a knock against anyone else. It's more of a commending him for a job well done, and again, it's nothing personal, but I don't see a reason switching. And I understand, you know, not having 2 different agents or, you know, brokers quoting the same thing virtually, or EMC not allowing, I understand that. So I don't see a reason to switch, especially if staff and has had a positive relationship with them.
So you can make a motion, or you, yeah.
Charlie then.
Do you want to specify or just reinforce the fact you want quotes from multiple companies where possible?
Yes. Whichever one allows fireworks. Any premium is worth it.
The bigger the room, the better.
I'll get certified now.
That sounds like a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll let you.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you both, Dustin and Charlie, for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the agenda to item number 7. Discussion and possible motion concerning a commercial sign permit application.
Milwaukee's new building next door, Milwaukee Electric, has, space to rent. He has, music, 151 by FP Music Academy coming in there. They have 2 wall signs, we're in your packet. Everything's in order, looks good.
I'll motion to approve. Looks pretty cut and dry.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Shane,
Yeah,
is John trying to get on the phone?
yes,
Because nobody was on, so I shut it off. So can you send him a text and tell him I'm getting
I'm
on?
telling he's up right now.
While she's doing that, we're on to item number 8. Resolution for pay application number 4 from Eastern Iowa Excavating Concrete, Portland Heights Park.
That's
When
John.
John joins us, yes.
If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please enter your PIN followed by the pound or hash. Thank you. There is one other
Oh, yay.
participant in the conference. Please announce yourself.
John, this is Cynthia at the meeting. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
All right, we can hear you.
All right,
Number 8,
so I assume you're on pay app number 4 for
Yeah.
Harlan Heights Park.
Yep.
So this is just the last regular pay app, before we, close this one out, the next item. There was some extra rock that I had in place under the basketball court, a weak spot. It never got accounted for on previous pay apps, so I'm just wrapping that up.
any questions for John on pay app number 4?
I'll make a motion to approve the payout.
Second.
It's a resolution, so roll call, please. Mary Ann, start.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to number 9, resolution to accept the Heartland Heights Neighborhood Park project, approve the balancing change order, and approve the final pay application. John?
Yep, ready to close this one out. Work's been done for a while. We were just waiting for them to come back and reseed some bare spots, which they did a couple weeks ago, so everything's good to go.
I'll make a motion to pay the final pay application.
Second.
Roll call, please. Tom, sir?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to number 10, resolution to approve change order number 6 from Nelson Electric. John?
This one is for the Hawks Ridge bollard lights. I think I mentioned this last month. There was a few complaints from the neighbors that there's a lot of glare and brightness coming for those, so we had, Nelson throw some frosted lenses on and some shields to help with that. So there's originally only supposed to be, I think, 4 or 6 shields, and the lighting company, heard that had some concerns with the bollard lights, so they threw in an extra 24 or whatever, so there's now every single bollard has a shield on it at no additional cost, so we're just paying for the original amount of frosted lenses and shields that we requested, not all of them.
Any questions for John? Need a motion?
Motion to pay.
Second?
I second.
Oh, didn't hear you, sorry. Roll call, Mary Ann?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to number 11, resolution to approve change order number 7 from Nelson Electric.
This is also for the Hawks Ridge bollards. This is the dimming and timing controls that they added for, I guess, not just the bollards, but the pavilion lighting too. So now Joe and Lynn have control through an app to adjust those. So yeah, any questions on this one?
Hearing none, I'll take a motion to approve change order number 7.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please. Tom?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to number 12, resolution to approve pay application number 5 from Nelson Electric.
This is the pay app paying for those 2 change orders that you just approved. The work's already been completed.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Mary Ann?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Number 13, resolution to approve pay application number 6 from Nelson Electric.
This is paying out a partial amount of retainage. Since this project's kind of been lingering on the last few months, trying to make tweaks to those Hawks Ridge lights. We agreed to pay out the 5% that was held back for a bulk of the work that's been done for a few months. So we're not closing it out yet, just out some of that retainage to them.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, Tom?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Thank you. All right, moving on to number 14. Talking about the Union Pacific Railroad crossing at Vanderbilt Street. It looks like Shane.
Yeah, so there's really three topics, with this one item that we wanted to discuss tonight, kind of bring everybody up to speed. So this project to improve the grades at, along Vanderbilt Street at the Union Pacific Railroad has been going on for probably a year more, I don't even recall. A lot of back and forth on what the UP wanted, a lot of changes from, reconstruction project, maintenance, back and forth. And I think they've had a change in consultant, but so kind of the latest where we're at now is John and Mayor Beer met with Benish Consultants, UP's consultant, out at the project site on August 8th. And at that meeting, the Benish indicated that, for improving the grades around there, with the whole mindset that we want to keep mostly trucks, but some cars too, and bottom them out when they cross those tracks. They want to see that north track raised, so it's at the same elevation as the south track. So if they do that, there'd be some cost of raising the tracks. But where, I guess my understanding is where you get into some of the big costs would be if they have to adjust the signals and the on bars. Because they have to have those a certain clearance above the street grades. So they have to raise those, and then at the control point down, the tracks have to get adjusted. Like that is some significant cost, which of course Benish said will all be city costs. So after that meeting, John went back, made adjustments to the plans that Benish wanted to see to accommodate making those tracks, got it submitted. And right now, we're in the process of waiting to get comments back from Benish based on what they're gonna have to do on the railroad side. If they raise the tracks, they're gonna have to raise those signals, or they're gonna have to, replace them. And they have to do stuff at the control point. So we're waiting to hear back from them on, what type of scope that would be and what type of costs would be involved with that. And then what kind of costs, how much would the city be responsible, and would there be any funding participation being in the Pacific Railroad? So that's where we're at with the grade project at the railroad crossing there. And, if it's worst case scenario, those costs will be significant. It sounded like if they just have to raise the tracks and can adjust the existing signals, that those costs will be too major, so. We'll wait and see, hopefully.
Did they provide any reason?
And a reason to raise those tracks,
The north track?
because they said they want to do it right the first time.
Well, they failed to do that the first time, so
yeah.
we've
That's-
gone past the first time.
And the second lift of the.
Yeah, and I always say that because, when you start throwing out words like significant cost,
So why is that our responsibility to fix their railroad
Yeah.
crossing if it's not at the right grade?
Because the city street crosses their tracks.
because they have us by the short hairs, and they'll make us pay for it, that's the real reason.
We were the ones that wanted to do this project. It's not like it's required by any,
So, but the answer to that is they'll just say close the road. They don't care. It doesn't impact them.
well, we
Of course
don't, I mean, we don't have to fix it. It's fine the way it is.
Well,
Relatively speaking.
but there has been two semis caught up on the tracks. One of them had to get a tow truck there in the last year.
I'm aware, but it's posted and marked, and that one actually had its dolly
Just
wheels
aware there
down.
are issues
As
out
dollies
there. It's
down.
not-
Yeah, I'm not suggesting there's not an issue there, we know.
But I don't know if that's our price.
How much are they talking about raising it, wanting to raise, proposing?
I don't know the exact elevations. You look at it, it might be
It's,
8, 9
it's
inches.
like 4 inches, so it's on the same plane as that south set of tracks.
I mean,
Typically, it's the speed bump.
I could see where our responsibility would be outside the track realm, out to fix the elevations, but inside that track, that's all their baby. I don't understand why that's our deal at all.
It's UP, they got us by.
I know they don't have us buy anything. They have fixed our crossings all over town.
We can ultimately say, no, we're not interested, we're not.
Well, I'm just,
We're not changing.
they're just thinking that we're gonna pay for it.
Don't worry, it gets worse. It's okay.
Okay.
Things change, it's got us all worked
Please,
out.
please go ahead.
And I'm just throwing out all the information. I mean, that project, just a little background. City staff and Mayor Frieden, Bernie wanted to see some touch-up stuff on Vanderbilt, and they, earmarked like $100,000. And then when it finally came time to, what do we want to do, then it's like, we need to get those tracks adjusted. There's a lot of scraping and issues there. So we looked at it and like, well, might be 100 a little over, and then obviously inflation and, with UP Railroad, we're way more than 100, but, and like you said, all of our work is basically outside of the tracks, but they have control at least 25 feet outside of the tracks, if not beyond that. So we are into their territory. But, so now we're finally to the point where we're getting some answers from them a year later. Not the kind you want to hear, but that's where we're at. So the second item to discuss with that crossing is, so we got, an annual notice that comes every year, and we just got it here in the last week or two that, okay, there's safety funding for railroad crossings. And that crossing does score pretty high, because of the speeds of the trains going through there. It's listed at 35 to 70 miles an hour, and I'm guessing nine times out of 10, it's 70, not 35, but, so John inquired with the representative from the DOT that's involved in those programs and had a few questions. And he responded back about some of the funding, the timing and so forth. And basically for, the only upgrades that are available to that, since there's already the signals and everything, is basically adding a median. And what that does is it keeps people from trying to drive around the arm bar, so it makes it more safe. Unfortunately, people try to do that. Not a great idea, but people do. So basically, the only thing from a safety funding standpoint that the city would be available to use at this time would be the median, which until you're looking at improving the street, I don't know if you want to do that anyways. There's a couple different programs for funding. One is Section 130 program, and that program, the only thing that would really fund would be the median at that crossing. The other program is the Highway Railroad Crossing Surface Repair Program, which it sounds like, we'll have to look into it a little bit more, but it sounds like, this project may be eligible for some funding through that program. I don't know if it'd be 50% or 60% of the total cost. And if there's upgrades to the signals, if they have to replace some things like that, I'm not sure if it would cover those or how much it would cover. Right now, if the earliest that would be, to happen would be 2025, so it'd be a year and a half to 2 years from now before those improvements can happen. But the person that John talked with said it's a first come, it's basically, it's granted as people request it, and there's a backup enough that I wouldn't have to put up like 28. We're 4 or 5 years out on that. Now, they do have, how do you say that? Caveat to that would be that, the city could use, or that the state, as part of this program, could use up to 50% of their annual appropriations from that program in a discretionary manner to move projects forward based on scoring mechanisms. So then you'd have to do the application and see how it scores.
And if there's enough need and it scores well enough, then we may be able to get part of those funds sooner, and then the rest of them we get later. Now, again, you have to meet that criteria. If you just apply and wait, you're gonna get the funds. It's just a matter of when your turn is up, so.
I'm sorry, Shane, what was the name of that program?
That program was the,
Is it highway and railroad crossing something?
Highway service and railroad crossing program. Isn't that what it was?
Highway Railroad Crossing Surface Repair Program.
And that's through the IDOT?
Yes. So that's just a little update on the safety funding that's out there. So there may be some funds, but it's not gonna be anytime soon. And the third part of that is, Mayor Beer inquired about, with the project going on and with the possible funding, would it be possible to make that, change that crossing to a quiet zone? It would be, it obviously would be part of the project we're doing now. It'd be much more substantial. Basically, quiet zone, only local governments and public agencies can establish a quiet zone. It has to be half a mile in length along the track. It has to have one at-grade crossing, which obviously the city meets all those in this situation at that location. The top four common supplemental safety measures that are implemented in quiet zones. Number one, and the preferred method for the railroad companies, not just UP, but all of them, is to close the road. That becomes a quiet zone. That's really not the best option in this case, but that is the preferred option by the railroad companies. And
That's why we haven't
it's
done it.
usually the most cost effective too. Second one, and usually the most cost prohibitive, is to install 4 quadrant gates. So instead of having 2, you have them on both sides, so people can't drive around it. But those gates and arm bars are expensive, and signalizing them, very expensive. Another option is to add 2 quadrant gates, which the city already has. Then you add the median, or some sort of channelizing device, so people can't drive around, and those have to go back at least 60 feet from the arm bars. And, again, until you improve Maryville Street or have a plan in place, we spend a lot of time and money doing that, and then maybe redoing it. So it really kind of goes more hand in hand. When the city wants to improve Maryville Street, it would make sense to look at, look into a quiet zone at that time.
Shane, Hiawatha's received quite a bit of publicity recently about getting 3 of their crossings designated as quiet zones.
Yep.
Do you know which of they obviously didn't go with the close the road option. Do you know what they had to do to accomplish that?
I don't off the top of my head. I don't see what happens. They added the medians, and I'm assuming it was very similar in Hiawatha. That's something I can look into, but
I'm sure every UP driver does it a little different anyway.
And I think those tracks up in Hiawatha, Julian, don't have a lot of traffic. I mean,
I don't know. I reached out to their mayor, but I haven't heard back yet because he was quoted on a lot of things. So I'm need to follow up with him.
so Cedar Rapids is in the process. Hiawatha is just opened theirs in September. Cedar Rapids has one, like on second, third, first, second, third, and then they're actually doing a separate one down by Newbold. The one I think, first, second, third is scheduled to open up this spring, this coming spring, and the Newbold one's like 26, 27. They take time and money. So, there's a way that you can look into them. There's an online calculator, and you can fill out that information and see, if you qualify at that location. That's something you could do. if you're not planning on doing anything in Vanderbilt for 10 years, you don't really have plans to do anything at that intersection, you might want to look at it now, but I would give yourself 4 or 5 years. You know, if it's something that you wanted to do Vanderbilt street improvements in the next 4 or 5 years, you probably want to start looking into it. So, ultimately, that's a choice, you know, by council, if you want to do a quiet zone. But if you look at that intersection, and you can look at, you know, obviously, a trail of some sort, be it a share or a side path or whatever, needs to go through there to connect one on the north side of town and the south side of town. And the streets don't line up on the north side and the south side, and where the medians go. When you're putting it in for 5 years, and then you do Vanderbilt Street 5 years after that. To me, it makes sense to coordinate that work together. So I think if you're doing your CIP, if you want, you know, that point that Vanderbilt street reconstruction is, you know, 5 years out, give or take. You've got that 1 year CIP, that 5 year, and that 10 year. If it keeps sitting at that 10 year, there's probably not a lot of need to look into that, but again, I mean, it is something you can do separate, but I don't know if it's worth it. So something to consider as we're looking at options and items along that crossing, so. So we've got the current project, we've got some safety funding that the city may be eligible for, but it's probably, you know, a couple of years, I think, at least, not a few more. I guess, you know, we wait and see when bench comes back with our proposed improvements. You know, it's just raising the tracks and adjusting the existing signals, and it's not a terrible number. I would recommend going ahead and doing it. Whatever we can do to get that crossing safer, I think is, you know, the big reason from a cost standpoint. If those numbers come in really high, then we have to look at other options. One thing John did say is the 2 trucks that did get caught up were coming from the north heading south. And right now, we've got no truck traffic on Church, so the trucks are almost forced to come in on Prairie and go south through town on Vanderbilt. So that may be something that, you know, in the meantime, before that crossing interchange gets, or crossing intersection gets improved, maybe we look at some different truck signage. And maybe move it from Church Street so they can come from the other direction, and maybe putting in a preferred truck route and some signage. Maybe a cost-effective way to at least reduce the chances of vehicles getting caught up there. But obviously, you can't completely prevent that until we can fix the crossings. Now, and I know John looked at a lot of details about, you know, that 4 inches or whatever. You know, the big thing is extending the grade out to the north side because it drops right off. And what we're looking at is extending that grade out so the trucks wouldn't bottom out there. And, you know, there's not a lot of difference if you raise that north track that 4 inches. You know, the big thing that makes a difference is graded out. So kind of to your point, is it worth it? Should they have done it the first time? Yeah. But
Grading out to the south, isn't that gonna change the crossing elevation?
grade out to the north, I might have said to the south, grade out to the north.
To the north, yeah,
Well, I know, I don't think so.
okay.
But John might know that in more detail. You know, crossing arms are obviously set back from the tracks a little ways.
Right.
But not a lot, so we're kind of tying in.
Yeah, that arm bar is just barely in compliance for height above the street level now, so if you raise the north tracks 4 inches and the street right there, then it's out of compliance. So what they were gonna look into is just shimming up the existing signal pole to get that height requirement. That's the number 1 option they're gonna look at. But they thought the age of those poles, and they were just outdated to begin with and were in need of replacement at some point. So domino effect in there. So anyway.
So how far out can we go from, like, so if we decide we want to raise the elevation of the street on the north side to bring it in so it matches the current elevation of the rail, so instead of doing this, it's like this. Can we do that, or are we getting into their territory where we can't do that?
We're in their territory, and that's why I've been coordinating with them.
Is it right away,
Here's
25
here's a crazy idea.
25 foot?
We lower the south track.
I asked them that, and they said, absolutely not.
Absolutely.
We don't lower track.
Yeah, that'd be too
Then
easy.
we turn out all the back. And, you know, and yeah, I think they're gonna work with us and a little bit.
It's their
'Cause
track.
I had brought up the budget that was already set aside for this. And it's slim if they go and pile this stuff on us. So he even called up, the UP signal guy, I think he's out of Cedar Rapids, when we were meeting. And asked him, you know, if we require them to do signal adjustments or signal replacements, does UP have any money set aside? It almost sounded like UP has their own grant programs, and to help municipalities do signal improvements. And it sounded like there was money in the pot that UP had that they could potentially contribute. No promises were made, obviously, so, but like Shane said, we just need to wait to see what this estimate looks like when they.
Some of that conversation, it seemed like he was even saying with the age of the existing signals, it might be feasible to replace,
That they should just replace them with new ones, because it's
Yeah.
time.
so you kind of got mixed signals in that meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, Lynn,
well, why would
Sounds
they wanna
like
do
there's
that when we'll
really-
pay for it?
Sounds like there's a ton of information that still needs to be put in.
Yeah,
right,
But
A lot of it revolves around
but
cost.
we really didn't have the grants that Shane came up with before, so.
yeah, and
that-
and the safety grants, the arm bars and stuff, yeah, those are operated and stuff by the railroad. But they're needed for the streets. Yeah, I think that's where, I mean, look at it, well, it's for the railroad, but then we gotta know it's for the street, it's for keeping people out of our rail, out of our.
But don't they own the crossing guards? They're not ours, they're theirs.
They're there.
They're theirs, they're on their property, they're their crossing guards. Why would we pay to replace them?
You can argue
I'm
with
sorry, but
UP.
that's
You
ridiculous.
you can argue with the UP or any of the railroad companies, but I think.
I just know in Cedar Rapids, when we have issues on J Street, you know what happens? They come in and they fix them. City of Cedar Rapids doesn't fix them. The UP comes and closes the crossing and they fix them.
Yeah.
And
That
they
doesn't
do
mean-
it a couple times a year.
Yeah, and I don't know of what, like I said, what they pay for and what, you know, UP pays for, what the city pays for, or whoever. You know, general maintenance, stuff like that. I'm just saying, the way they look at it is, it's to protect the people on your street. It's not to protect us. It's to protect the people on your streets, and that's why it's needed. They prefer that you don't have operating street crossings. So, and again, I understand where you're coming. I'm not arguing for them. I'm just telling you that's how they look at it.
UP thinks they're gods.
So I have a question. Lynn and I have had some conversations about opening up truck traffic on Church Street, which Shane also mentioned, but I'm hesitant to do that without making it an agenda item. Any feedback from the council?
On Church Street?
Yeah, right now it's just no trucks.
No, and it's, the reason it says that is because they can't make that 90-degree corner at the end of Church.
Or Lynn Street, but they go that way anyway.
But I mean, that's why it's one of the reasons why it's like that. And then you've got the speed hump in the middle.
The problem is getting the trucks to the feed mill. So
They end
come
up in that
correct.
ditch.
They come in, if they come in correctly off Prairie, then they get in trouble on the tracks.
Well, then wasn't the one that got caught up in the tow truck, wasn't that the water softener? when they were-
Yep, they were going through the water.
Yeah.
I don't think here, we're a little too far.
And the truckers that are not obeying the law come in on Church Street. The truckers that don't know, they come in on Prairie and then they get in trouble.
Don't we have a truck route where they're supposed to come in on Church just down to Vanderbilt and that's as far as they can go?
So the sign that you and I put up.
Right.
too, but no one reads it.
Okay.
They go past that, they go up Church, they go down Lynn, they end up in yards. They get all kinds of weird things.
So sounds like we're leaving things the way they are.
Well, and this is more of a discussion item until we get.
Go on on the Church Street situation, the truck route situation.
Well, I mean, if that price comes back at a huge number, you're gonna
Wait
have
for
to
that,
have considerations on what you wanna do, if anything.
Okay,
Personally, I think I would recommend taking off the Church Street part. And then maybe put a no trucks on, Church past the Star Bar, or, you know, at that intersection saying, don't go that way. You know, who want to come in Church to Vanderbilt to the businesses. I don't know.
And then they'll go what?
And then they'll still
Then
do
they'll
what they
go
want
right
to do.
straight out on
Well, right,
Prairie.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt down to Prairie or
Yeah.
Lucy.
Coming from the
There's a
south,
building.
going across, they don't seem to have as much problem. Coming from the north, heading south, that's where they get in trouble.
Not to get on a big tangent, but have we had issues with Southview Road?
What's that?
Southview Road, are they using that still? or
Oh,
not?
yeah.
Yeah.
and that's a farm to market road, so it has to stay a truck route.
And a lot of it's, some people that know, some people that don't. Most people, drivers don't care. They're going, wanting to get their job done. They're going fast. Get done, get their job done, get back home.
People I never see cross that bridge that needs to be replaced.
Yeah.
Bus drivers.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else drives across.
Yeah, it used to be DOT, they do the loop right in there, and a lot of overweight vehicles go over that.
As far as this session goes, I'd just say we'll wait till we hear back from.
Sounds like-
Yeah, I think we have to just, I think what they told me or Beer and John at the time, and if Lynn was there, that it'd be like 4 to 6 weeks, so John turned around and got the plans back.
I think we're there.
We're at like 8 weeks, so we're waiting to hear back from them, so hopefully before the next meeting, we'll have more information and, you know, at least now you've got kind of all the information that we can prevent on that or provide on that. And
Once we have their
there should be more
insight,
discussion when it comes in, but at least you have a little background,
we can have,
so.
take a little direction.
And I can keep pushing John and questioning him, did you hear from him, what's going on? Poor guy. He keeps trying his best, but no result.
Yeah, I reached out to them again last week to see where they were at with that cost estimate. They responded right away, but they just didn't have it done yet, so. And they did reiterate when I talked to them last, if the costs look good on the city's end and we move forward with it, they could wrap things up, and we have to do another agreement with them, a construction agreement, and we could still begin construction next March, April, or whenever the asphalt plants open back up, and, so.
The only other thing that is part of this that Shane was mentioning, the quiet zone. I mean, I'm not objecting to it, but I think if there's any cost to it, I don't see a valid reason for assuming that cost, because it would just be like a jailbreak ordinance. It's unenforceable. It's a pat on the back to promptly have everybody and their mother come down 80th and 151 using that jailbreak.
Which we did that on 151, but you get jake breaks every day.
You know where I work, I hear it all day.
Yeah, every day.
And it's the same with the trains. I live by the tracks over on front, and I can hear them coming, blowing that horn about half mile before they're even in town.
And I don't know, I mean, I can hear where I live too, not nearly as much as you guys can, but, they're required, obviously, for safety purposes, to blow those horns. So the idea behind the quiet zone is you have the safety precautions in place, then they'll put at these locations when it's coming, they won't blow. Now, there are certain situations for safety, and obviously, if, you know, the electronic squad or something, they'll blow them, but right now, I think that on the form, I don't know how long it's been, but it said, when they did a count, there was 19 trains during the 12 hours a day and like 18 trains overnight. And you guys probably know this real well, in downtown area, you get those horns blowing twice an hour.
But it's all driver dependent, just like the semis, because we have some, you know, when I'm up late, I'll hear them, they'll just do a couple blips. And then the guys that are pissed off for
Yeah.
whatever reason, they lay on that horn the whole way through town.
Yeah, you can
I
tell.
mean,
who
you
loves-
hear more than me, you're a lot closer.
Yeah, you can tell who loves their job, because it's like, dude, and then you're ones that are like, you know, why are you waking me up?
Well, before Wilson retired, he was the roadmaster and they hated him, and they would just come through and glare. Because he lived right there.
So in the quiet zone, does that slow the traffic down then too, or the same thing?
He lives right by you.
Oh, yeah, that's. I don't know, I don't,
See that?
I don't know if it has to be so slow before you can get it. I mean, that's where you'd have to kind of get into that online calculator and
See, I
see.
think that's a concern in that, if they get rid of the horns and still have the same speed.
Yeah. It may not
A lot
be,
more to know about it.
yeah, I mean, you may have to, it may be one of those things where to become eligible, they have to lower their speeds to 30 mile per
Yeah.
hour, 40 or something. I wouldn't do that, but like I said, until you know, we can look into it now and get on there and see if the city be eligible, and if not, what would have to be done to make it eligible, but if you're not gonna, look at doing the improvements for 10 years, I mean, at the time that you're improving Vanderbilt Street, then, yeah, it may make sense, if you're already gonna improve it.
We're approved already, you don't have to punish yourself and stick around.
But like I said, you wanna spend all that money now, and then, 10, 15 years, maybe have to tear them out and redo them. Really do Vanderbilt
If
Street.
you do a quiet zone and they go the same speed, that would be a concern of mine just for safety, because the horns give you some.
Yeah, the whole concept is you aren't supposed, they only do the quiet zone if you make it physically not impossible, because if somebody really wants to jump a curb or something, they will, but, a physical barrier that, they have to make the choice where it's more just a mental barrier to say, no, I'm not gonna go around that gate, where there's no real physical barrier, anybody can do it. Actually, doesn't mean you should, but people do anyways.
Okay, good information. Thanks, Shay.
Yeah.
Move on to number 15.
They fall asleep.
We're gonna talk speed limits on Lefevere Road. At our last meeting, we approved the first reading.
Any comments? Seen it in the facts.
Yeah, I put it on the front page.
Yeah, I saw it. No one
No,
called in.
I don't recall my calculation from last time, but I think it was something like it added 2 to 4 seconds to your drive. So if you're working on that side of a window.
If you obey the law. If you're trying to get to the elementary by 8.
If you have to go to the bathroom, I really hungry, that could be home.
That drop off lane gets pretty big.
I have a question, Shanice, on, the streetlights on Lefevere Road. We're gonna install them basically from the edge of Trevero back to the north. And we have them all going on the east side of the street, is that right, as opposed to on the west side?
So I think there's one on the east side on Fairfax Road, and then I think there's one by the entrance to the parking lot. So all north of the tracks, so there's 2 there, and then there's 2 south that are on the Trevero side.
Okay, so are they further, the only reason I'm asking is Trevero has multiple streetlights that are out at their drive
Their driveway
entrances.
lights are set back.
So these aren't going to be close to those,
Well,
correct?
they'll be on the other side of the drives and they'll be facing the street, but they'll be fairly close.
Trevorrow's got that sidewalk in now, I'm sure you tried seeing it.
Yeah,
I think you have pictures of that.
I think they're set back on the
So on the north side of the Crane, or not, north side of Southview, or where are they? On the west side?
So basically, north side of the tracks, there's gonna be 2 light poles added.
Okay,
One on the east side of the road and then one on the west side, that'll be at the, I don't remember which
Also,
side.
there will
of the
be an
drive,
east-west.
Drive to the parking lot for the park. And then on south of the tracks, there'll be one, I think, on the north side of the Trevorrow's north entrance and one on the north side of the Trevorrow's south entrance.
both on the east side.
so is that less space in between their drives then?
The west side's county.
The west side's county.
Okay, so that's why we're going all on the east side. Okay, all right,
That's
all
our
right.
only jurisdiction.
I don't know why I was thinking that then.
So we're currently talking about the speed limit, but remind us how the speed limit is tied into the need for streetlights.
So there's clear zone setbacks, so if you're going 55, you gotta set it way back, and then you're gonna get down to the bottom of the ditch. And then the clear zone doesn't count any distance once you get beyond a certain slope, so you drop off in that ditch, you can't count that, so actually skid it, now you're all of a sudden you're putting the streetlights in the, where they just put the sidewalk, and then you get back to the landscaping. And there's no need for streetlight. So.
No other, it's not counted street.
So we don't, or the speed limit, we don't put in the street lights, so, and not, you don't want to put in the street lights, you don't put in the street lights, but.
So the first reading on ordinance number 86 here, the description that's highlighted there, Cynthia's got pulled up there. So it starts at east, south, south view, and then goes north, correct?
No, it starts at, that's the section, that's the south line of where Traveral's at. I didn't call it
That
Traverl
description
because
is-
they may change their name, or, you know, they may expand to the south, if they put a second Traverl out there in the future or whatever. But that is where the south line of Traverl is currently at, and it goes up to south. I think there's a speed limit sign just south View Road that changes to 25.
Okay,
So then from south, is it already 25 to Southview?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
As you approach from the south, as you approach South View Road intersection, you're just 25 mph.
So this slows you down when you get to the edge of their property,
Yeah.
where the development is, and then
Yeah.
into town,
To
and leaves
Southview.
the rest of it.
I'm fine with the way it's written.
pardon me?
So I'm fine with the way it's written, and I'll make a motion for the second reading.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
Roll call on ordinance, please. Huh?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Now we have the opportunity to consider a motion to suspend the rules for the third and final. We okay with that?
Second.
Second, roll call, Marianne?
Aye.
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 So it's a done deal.
More signs.
So we need to still do a motion for final passage and adoption.
Motion.
Second.
Let me ask a question about the breakaway poles. Are they required?
Again, it gets to that clear zone area. And we are, there's a desirable, when you look at student asked a lot of the design, there's a desirable and there's a preferred. So we're not to the preferred because you'd be down in the ditch, but we'll meet the desirable, or 80% not desirable. There's a preferred and an acceptable. So the preferred would be back down in the ditch. The acceptable, we meet that requirement. So for the design, student design standards, we meet the acceptable setbacks. But since we weren't meeting the preferred, we recommend putting in the breakaway poles.
And
If you don't want to, you don't have to, that's what we do.
if all the other poles are wood, right?
The two north ones that are north of the tracks are wood, and then the two south ones are breakaway.
Are breakaway.
Yeah, those are the closest to the railroad drive.
Yes.
So part of that's what the trucks possibly coming in and out doing something.
Well, and we're, if the trucks are hitting them, the trucks are going in the ditch.
But that was
It's
kind of
not,
something.
Okay.
it shouldn't be that the trucks are cutting corners.
So what is the cost difference between the two poles?
Okay, can we finish this motion and then move on to the lights? We're still on the speed limit.
No,
We're good. We're good with the third.
we're on 16.
No, we're on
No,
15.
no, we're on the
15.
final approval.
We're on the final approval and the speed limit. Let's finish that one.
Well, that's fine. I thought we, all right.
Nope, we didn't, we haven't finished it yet.
But you have a motion in a second.
We have a motion and a second on item 15C, final passage and adoption of speed limit.
Go ahead.
We'll do it.
Looking for roll call?
Yes, please.
Starting.
Aye.
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 All right, now we're done with that. All right. Now we can move on to 16. And sorry to interrupt, Tom, but we need to finish the speed limits.
I couldn't read through the difference, the breakout for what the cost saving would be if we stayed with.
Yeah, I think the breakaway poles were, let's see here. Yeah, the breakaway poles.
2,700 apiece.
$2,800, and I think the wood poles are like 1,000, 1,200. So it's like $1,400 more for each pole.
For the breakaway.
Maybe $3,000 round number, two additional costs. Yeah, I mean, it meets the acceptable, if you don't want to go with wood poles. You can.
Other than aesthetics, that's where you get 4 big bowls holding it down, it's kind of on a little plateau for the breakaway.
That's my understanding, yeah. If they hit it, all breaks away where a wood pole.
Yeah, snaps it.
You get less.
It's solely for cars wrecking in the ditch, I'm assuming, right? The
Oh,
breakaway
yeah, I
poles.
mean, it's off the shoulder, I think it's 12 to 13 foot setback from the travel lane. So the thought is, if you're going 35, you should be going off the shoulder, you should correct yourself and not hit the pole. Is the thought process behind that. Now, if you go down in the ditch, you get so steep, you can't, even if you catch yourself, you can't correct yourself.
And we did the breakaway because that was in the preferred zone, the 2 that are there right now.
Yeah, they meet the acceptable, but they don't meet the preferred. So that's why we got the quote on that breakaway. But again, you're for the design students, it's acceptable. So if you want to put a wood pole, you can, just a little bit more, a little bit safer option.
What's
It
the,
did say, Elaine did say, they don't have those on hand, so if somebody hits it and goes down, you might be without a light for a couple of weeks.
I'm sorry, I just think we should just put regular ones in, they're everywhere else and,
That's
Yeah.
initial thought.
I mean, you can still bring a wooden pole, you just gotta hit it hard.
well,
probably not 35 miles an hour.
No,
it's not our responsibility to keep from something.
I'm fine either way, whatever you guys want to see.
I just hate to set the precedent and then every time we do something now, you have to put those in.
Wood.
Your information.
I would say.
Motion for wood.
I'll second the motion for wood.
Okay. Roll call, starting with Tom.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to item number 17, discussing the Sons of the American Legion running the concession stand on Saturday.
So the agreement between FYSA and the equipment in the concession stand gives city council the right to approve a civic group to run a concession stand for whatever whatever it would be. This happens to be the car show this weekend, if the car show goes on this weekend. The Sons of the American Legion used it last year as a fundraiser, and they're asking to be able to do it again this year.
Do we have to have a food safety, whatever, present while it's open?
We have to have a food safety manager present every time
It's okay.
the concession
That's
stand is
okay.
open, or a designated representative. So that would either be myself or Aaron.
So they pay for the food that they use. What happens is reports a tail end happens to the food that is not used. Is it still frozen?
We've got a stock. I mean, we've already purchased the stock, so whatever the sales are, I know it's about 57 or 58% of food cost right now, year to date. So whatever the total sales are, let's say it's $1,000, we're gonna keep 570. The city's gonna bank 570 or 580, and they're gonna get 420 or $430.
So there's not food there that's gonna go to waste that the city.
No, this is we already have purchased food for this event. Who works it doesn't have anything to do with stock.
Any other questions for Joe?
All motion, Sons of America.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Number 18, resolution to establish a policy and fee schedule for sports registrations. Joe again.
So this is much more about, the policy for a family that it becomes a financial burden to be able to participate in our youth program than it really does about, fees. The fees have already been established. They're written down here. If I ever wanted to change fees, which we did last year, now it would require to come to the city council and we would update those, just like we do for fees on use of the ball fields or use of the pavilions at the parks. But this actually draws out and says, hey, this is what has to happen. If a family comes to you and says, I can't afford to have my son play baseball, it gives us a direction to go and what we have to do and where the money comes from. So what that direction is, the parent has to contact me directly. They can't just not pay it. If they don't pay it, they don't get to play. But then we'll also develop a fund that people have donated already, and we'll take money out of that fund and put it towards the registration fee. You know, it'll be donation money that we just take from donation, we put in registration fee. It's like taking it from one line item to another line item. So
since the city took over the sports registration, we needed a more formal policy than FYSA had. Joe and I discussed it, and then I happened to go to the academy this summer, and Rob Sand, the actual auditor, did one of the sessions I was sitting in, so I was picking his brain, and this is kind of based on what he said that they would like to see. It's just a process that we have it as policy.
and just so that you're aware, because I want to make sure that this gets out there too. The number of players that did not pay a registration fee this year were less than 2.5% of our total of 631. If being in the banking industry, if we were ever audited and the auditors came in and our delinquent rate was less than 2.5%, we would get fined for not making enough loans. Does that make sense? They expect the bank to have some delinquency. So not that this is good, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying this is not something that's out of control that somebody needed to step in and say, hey, you're not collecting any money. That's not it at all.
I do like the idea of helping, you know, the less fortunate so that they have an opportunity to enjoy childhood and not be burdened by not being able to pay.
Is there any way to legally use child labor to have them recoup?
Only on your soccer team. Yes, that becomes standard.
Yes, that is their permit, associated.
Okay.
But I think this year so far today, we've collected, and we're done collecting registration fees, but since beginning of January, we've collected over $27,000 in registration fees. So once again, it's not like we're giving away the farm on registration fees. This just puts it into writing so that everyone knows what the program is.
So moved.
Second.
A roll call, please. Tom?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 19 is to consider a resolution to just set a public hearing date for the rezoning at 117 Prairie Avenue. So this is
No.
just,
We don't need to do this.
we don't need to do
Yeah,
this,
this
so,
shouldn't have been on here, sorry.
What?
This shouldn't have been on here, sorry.
so
117 Prairie
they've changed their
Avenue.
mind, or they,
No, they haven't changed their mind. Their site plan didn't show the stormwater, so they are reconsidering looking at their options. So I'm sorry, I thought this was, but obviously not.
okay, so
Yeah, they're gonna.
are we just taking no action, or tabling it, or
There's no action.
no actions, approved method? Okay, that's easy, no action. Oh, we're gonna have 2 no actions in a row. The next one on glass recycling, I'm waiting for one key piece of information to complete a proposal to present to you, the council, and that will be available at our November meeting. So we're gonna do no action on number 20 as well. And that allows us to move on to number 21, resolution to approve the fiscal year 23 annual urban renewal report. Cynthia.
This is our annual TIF report. It's a terrible report to fill out, but it's done, balanced. And you need to approve it. It's on last fiscal year.
Second.
Roll call, Marianne?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Number 22, resolution to approve the fiscal year 25 TIF certification forms.
So if you remember last meeting, you took action on the annual appropriation resolution. I said that was the first step in the budget. This is the second step. So this we send into the county so that they can allocate the property to generate the amount of TIF funds that we need for fiscal 25, which is the budget you will start working on in January. This fiscal year, we asked them for 1.6 million, and you can see this is 1.35 million, so it is going down. I did attend an all-day TIF training seminar yesterday put on by the state, and I asked them the question, well, since we're asking for less TIF, that's gonna throw more valuation in our taxable valuation. How is that considered in with House File 718? He tried his hardest to avoid discussing House File 718. And so there'll be more information, but it certainly will raise your taxable valuation in addition to growth and stuff. I'm sure we'll be over the 6% and in the 3% levy shade category, but it is what it is.
Much more on that to follow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the meantime, we need to,
Make a motion to approve.
okay,
I'll second.
roll call, please. Tom?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, number 23. Earlier we talked about the veterans banners, and Cynthia has some thoughts on new banners.
Yeah, so, you know, we did the veterans banners as kind of a tie into our new Veterans Memorial. And when I was thinking about those coming down, and also the fact that we had 33 spaces available, we had, I think, 11 purchased. So, you know, there wasn't a demand that we couldn't meet from the veterans families. So I was thinking that it might be nice to honor our Fairfax firefighter members, either past or current, and do the same. We'll get a cost estimate and from the company, and the families will fill out a form and pay the fee. We will put it up, and then when we take it down, the banner goes to the family. I just thought it'd be nice.
That's a great idea. Can we do 30 cheap ones?
33 is thank you.
Put a space in everyone.
I'll let
All right, so
That little mustache is different.
so I have a motion on the floor. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 24, discussion and possible motion concerning the new cost estimate for the dump truck. And whose paycheck is coming out of? No.
Yeah. Okay, so quick refresher, back in February, we talked about this, we, okayed doing the dump truck, and the money was planned for $100,000 from lost, $25,000 from general, 25 from road use, 25 from water, 25 from sewer, which makes up 200 for this year, and do the same thing next year for a total of 400. At the time of February, the truck was too early to order. They wouldn't order because it was gonna sit around too long for them to be paying for it until we could actually pay for it. So now it's getting to be the time to order it, and it's no surprise that it has gone up. So this is the price difference current to today. The body company representative got a hold of me and said, hey, if you guys are thinking about doing it, we need to do it now because prices are going up first part of October. And so they did me a price quote, which is current to the numbers that are on here. And that would hold for 30 days, which is till the end of the month. And so that's, I guess, what I'm bringing it back to make sure everybody's still okay with the price increase. It's still within the numbers that were budgeted, but it's almost $9,400 more. Some of that was from the cab chassis.
And this is all because they couldn't order it. If we would have ordered it at they could have ordered it back when we said yes, we wouldn't, this $9,000 wouldn't be.
Right, but the cab chassis would have been sitting around for 8, 9 months on their dollar,
If you could get it.
if you could get it.
Because so many dealers are allowed so many vehicles, so they sell them.
I just hate, you spend money and then, oh, you allocate it and then, okay, now you get it, now it's gonna be, I mean, that is just, that just hurts me. to
And
no
so,
end.
yeah, the timing thing, so I'm just bringing it back so that, because it's gonna be a different number, but this is gonna be the number now, because nobody will change it. If we agree to this, then I'll call tomorrow. We'll get the paperwork signed accordingly, and it's out of our hands and should be done, well, after what I just heard today. It's hard to say, but, was due to be July, next July, we should be able to get it, so. But if they're on strike, is what I heard, so I don't know.
Yeah, just,
Parts are already becoming a problem.
If it gets delayed, it's really no hindrance to us, it's just, that's the time frame. That anytime after July 1 was when it was due, and that's what we were trying for. Whatever it is.
We sold a 2007 POS rust bucket for 15,000.
Yeah.
Anybody surprised?
Somebody will dump it.
That would be,
Just
I know. It's 400, and it's gonna be going up.
So does council want to consider this truck at a higher price?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a motion to move it through.
Is that a motion from Nick?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Thank you.
All right, number 25, discussion concerning fiscal year 25 budget training and schedule.
Okay, so, the letters have gone out to the department heads so that they can discuss their budget at their October or November meetings. You just did the TIF certification. The Iowa League is holding budget training in November. Joanne and I are gonna go to Cedar Rapids Advanced Training on November 2nd. There's beginning training via a webinar the following week. And, of course, there are a little bit of budget training if you participate in the Municipal Leaders Academy, which they always have right after the election. Encourage any of you that want to get some extra budget training, reach out to me. You can sit in on the beginning seminar. There'll be lots of changes this year with House File 718. Joanne has plans to meet with the department heads the first week in December before they present at the December meeting. We always have the initial budget proposals from the departments at the December meeting. Also, I've let Shane know that this is all gearing up, and so he's gonna dust off the CIP list and have that ready to discuss at the December meeting. Taxable valuations, hopefully it'll be early January, employee reviews, which tie into payroll cost. The budget spreadsheet is all ready, except I'm just waiting for the half-year numbers. So that'll be given to you in January. And at the January meeting, we usually discuss wages. And then we'll need to have a special meeting sometime late January. January 23rd would be 2 weeks after the regular. Just kind of trying to get on your schedules. If anyone has trips or stuff planned, to let us know. Follow-up budget review during the February 13th meeting. At that meeting, you have to finalize the levies because Lynn County would like our levy information by March 1. The new code says by March 15th, but they only have 5 days after the 15th to get this new tax statement mailed to every Lynn County resident. So they're asking for our information by the 1st. Then sometime after they mail that statement, so after the 20th, each city has to hold a separate meeting concerning only the tax statement. That's the only thing that can be on the agenda. It'll be a public hearing. And so you'll need to have a special towards the end of March. And then we finalize the budget numbers at the regular March 12th meeting and set the hearing date to approve the entire budget. And I'm assuming at that March 12th meeting or that special meeting, there'll be some sort of resolution to pass about the tax statement. I haven't been to that training yet, so I don't know. But then, you can approve the full budget April 9th. Remember last year, they changed the deadline to the end of April because of the mistake they made in the rollback figures. Well, now, because of this new system, they have changed it to, I believe, at least the next 4 years, it's gonna be the end of April. That's it.
Regarding 718, do we, with the exemptions for 65 and over and military, do we know approximately how many homes that will affect?
I do not, because, well, I don't know the ages of, everybody, but also, I think, the 65 and older, they had to apply
I have to
for it.
apply for it too.
So if they missed that and they didn't do that by the end of June, then they don't, even if they would qualify, they don't get it.
Gotcha.
So, I think the military one, if they've already got their military exemption, that's an automatic increase. But yeah, I have no idea what that will do to her. I said I haven't been to the advanced budget yet, but I'm thinking, of course, it's council decision. I'm sure with our growth that they will say, you can't be at the 810 on your regular levy. They're gonna shave it down however much. But if you want to stay at the 810, there are 3 levies that they didn't take away that we don't currently use that we could easily use. One is the insurance levy, one is the employee benefits levy, and one is the debt service levy. So if you wanted to calculate how much to get you back to 810, you could calculate the amount to put on those lines to keep you at 810. But again, that's a council decision, kind of a political decision, so just more information to follow. I just wanted to get the schedule in your hands.
Yeah, it's great to have the schedule, more information to follow. It's definitely in order. Lots of learning to be done. Cynthia's doing a great job of identifying things that we need to look at. We certainly don't know everything. I don't think anybody knows everything at this point in time. That's the scary part. So we'll just keep you posted the best we can.
And in your packet is a flyer about the budget workshops. Again, if you're interested, let me know. And then the email from the auditor's office about the March 1st.
Okay, any other questions for Cynthia on this? We'll move on to number 26, the claims list. Any questions on the bills to be paid?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 27, opportunity for citizens not on the agenda. Would anyone in the audience like to speak? Okay, anybody, or nobody's on the phone any longer? Okay. Very good. Moving on to number 28, the mayor's comments. In addition to my report in your packet, a reminder, tomorrow at 1 o'clock is the City Development Board meeting where they will be reviewing Iowa Land / Alliance annexation request into Cedar Rapids. We're going to be zooming into it from here. If anybody's interested in listening in on that, as long as we don't have a council quorum, that can happen. So that's 1 o'clock tomorrow.
And if you want to do it at your home or place of business, you have to register. You get on City Development Board's website and register, and they'll send you the link.
Okay, follow up to the Silurian Aquifer study. I had reached out to the mayor of Walford, explaining what we were going through, to see if, their council was interested in participating in the study in any way, shape, or form. And so they put it on their city council agenda, and no interest on Walford's part.
I don't know, that's gonna be.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Well, not that.
And then an update on the replacement position for the water wastewater supervisor. At this point in time, we have one internal application. The deadline is October 16th for the applications. And so after October 16th, I'll start with Nick to see if he's available for the interview process. If not, Mike's the designated backup.
If you can kind of review your schedules, I was talking to Kevin, he's got training the 17th and 18th,
Yes.
but he's available the 19th or 20th.
Yes.
But then the following week he's gone, is that right? Or no, not
I'm not
the,
sure.
but, okay,
I think I'm the tools.
okay.
There might be something else on the 20th too, I can't remember.
Okay,
So we need to coordinate schedules, in other words, yes. That's all I have. Cynthia, any comments?
just, not tomorrow, but a week from Wednesday, I'm gonna be in Des Moines. The bonding attorney has a seminar. I'm trying to get, registered for another one, kind of with budget, by Ted Nelson again. And then there's a mentor meeting, so I'll be down next Wednesday.
Did you want to mention the Wi-Fi upgrade?
Oh, so we've talked to our IT person and, gotten a quote to upgrade the Wi-Fi in this room to hopefully make it more stable for everybody. It hasn't been installed yet, but.
And we also talked with Southslope.
Oh,
Made
we
that
increased our speed. Yeah, it was
That's
just $10 a month more and, it increased it a lot. Did it double it? I forget.
More than double, I think, the
Okay,
speed
yeah.
of our,
So hopefully that helps.
so trying to improve some of our services here. Anything else, Cynthia?
Nope.
If not, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second,
Aye.
all in favor? Anybody opposed?
Oh, Fireflies. Yeah, you remembered. Oh, everybody vote.
Tuesday?
No,
Yeah,
November
November.
7th. We won't be, but we won't have another meeting until after that.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Days just fly by. I guess it is like a month.
All right.